down in Whoville liked Christmas a lot. But the Grinch, who lived just north of Whoville, did not. The Grinch hated Christmas, the whole Christmas season. Now, please don't ask me why. No one quite knows the reason. It could be that his head wasn't screwed on just right. It could be perhaps that his shoes were too tight. But I think the most likely reason of all may have been that his heart was 2 sizes too small. But whatever the reason, his heart or his shoes, he stood there on Christmas Eve hating the Whos, staring down from his cave with a sour, grinchy frown at the warm lighted windows below in their town. For he knew every Who down in Whoville beneath was busy now hanging their mistletoe wreath. They're hanging their stockings, he snarled with a sneer. Tomorrow is Christmas, it's practically here. Then he growled with his Grinch fingers nervously drumming. I must find some way to stop Christmas from coming. For tomorrow, he knew, all the Who girls and boys would wake bright and early, and they'd rush with their toys. And then, oh the noise, oh the noise, oh the noise, 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 noise. That's one thing he couldn't stand, was the noise, 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 noise. Then, the Who's young and old would sit down to a feast. And they'd feast. And they'd feast, and they'd feast, 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 feast. They'd feast on Who pudding and rare Who roast beast, which was something the Grinch couldn't stand at the least. And then they'd do something he liked least of all. Every Who down in Whoville, the tall and the small, would stand close together with Christmas bells ringing. They'd stand hand in hand, and the Whos would start singing. And then they'd sing, and they'd sing, and they'd sing, 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 sing. And the more the Grinch thought of this Who Christmas thing, the more the Grinch thought, I must stop this whole thing. Why, for 53 years I put up with it now. I must find some way to stop Christmas from coming. But how? Then he got an idea. An awful idea. The Grinch got a wonderful, awful idea. I know just what to do, the Grinch laughed in his throat, and he made a quick Santa Claus hat and a coat. Then he chuckled and clapped. What a great Grinchy trick. With his coat and his hat, I'll look just like St. Nick. All I need is a reindeer. The Grinch looked around. But since reindeer were scarce, there were none to be found. But did that stop the old Grinch? No. The Grinch simply said, if I can't find a reindeer, I'll make one instead. So he called his dog Max, and he took some red thread, and he tied a big horn to the top of his head. Then he loaded some bags and some old empty sacks on a ramshackle sleigh, and he hitched up old Max. Then he said, giddy up. And the sleigh started down towards the homes where the Whos lay a snooze in their town. All the windows were dark. Quiet snow filled the air. All the Whos were all dreaming sweet dreams without care. When he came to the first little house on the square. This is stop number 1, the Grinchy Claus hissed, and he climbed to the roof, empty bags in his fist. He slid down the chimney, a rather tight pinch. But if Santa could do it, then so could the Grinch. He got stuck only once for a moment or two. Then he stuck his head out of the fireplace flue, where the little Who stockings all hung in a row. These stockings, he grinned, are the first things to go. Then he slithered and slunk with a smile most unpleasant around the whole room, and he took every present. Pop guns, bicycles, roller skates, drums, checkerboards, tricycles, popcorn, and plums. And he stuffed them in bags. And the Grinch, very nimbly, stuffed all the bags, one by one, up the chimney. Then he slunk to the icebox. He took the Who feast. He took the roast. He took the Who pudding. He took the roast beast. He cleaned out the icebox as quick as a flash. Why, that Grinch even took the last can of Who hash. Then he stuffed all the food up the chimney with glee, and now, grinned the Grinch, I'll stuff up the tree. He grabbed the tree, and he started to shove. when he heard a small sound like the coo of a dove. He turned around fast and he saw a small poo, little Cindy Lou who was no more than 2. The Grinch had been caught by this tiny Who daughter who got out of bed for a cup of cold water. She stared at the Grinch and said, Santa Claus, why? Why are you taking our Christmas tree? Why? Oh, you know that old Grinch is so smart and so slick. He thought up a line. He thought it up quick. Why, my sweet little tot, the fake Santa Claus lied. There's a light on this tree that won't light on one side, so I'm taking it home to my workshop, my dear. I'll fix it up there, then I'll bring it back here. Well, his fib fooled the child, and he got her a drink and sent her to bed. And when little Cindy Lou Who went to bed with her cup, he went to the chimney, and he stopped the tree up. The last thing he took was the log for the fire. Then he went up the chimney himself, the old liar. On the walls he left nothing but hooks and some wire. And the one speck of food that he left in the house was a crumb that was even too small for a mouse. Then he did the same thing to the other Who's houses, leaving crumbs much too small for the other Who's mouses. It was 1:15 dawn. All the Who's still abed. All the Who's still a snooze. When he packed up his sled, he packed it up with the ribbons, the wrappings, the tags, and the tinsel, the trimmings, the trappings, 3,000 feet up. Up the side of Mount Crumpet he rode with his load to the tip-top to thump it. Pooh-pooh to the Who's he was grinchiously humming. They're finding out now that no Christmas is coming. Ha! They're just waking up. I know just what they'll do. Their mouths will hang open for a minute or two. Then every Who down in Whoville will cry, boo-hoo. That's the sound, grinned the Grinch, that I simply must hear. So he paused and he put his hand to his ear, and he did hear a sound rising over the snow. It started in low, and it started to grow, but its sound wasn't sad. Why, that sound sounded merry. It couldn't be so. But it was merry, very. The Grinch stared at Whoville. He popped his eyes. What he saw was a shocking surprise. Every Who down in Whoville, the tall and the small, were singing without any presents at all. He hadn't stopped Christmas from coming. It came. Somehow or other, it came. Just the same. Then the Grinch, with his Grinch feet ice cold in the snow, stood puzzling and puzzling. How could it be so? It came without ribbons. It came without tags. It came without packages, boxes, or bags. He puzzled 3 hours till his puzzler was sore. Then the Grinch thought of something he hadn't before. Maybe Christmas, perhaps, doesn't come from the store. Maybe Christmas, perhaps, means a little bit more. Well, what happened then? Down in Whoville, they say, the Grinch's small heart grew 3 sizes that day. And the minute his heart didn't feel quite so tight, he rode with the load through the bright morning light, and he brought back the toys and the food for the feast. And he himself, the Grinch, carved the roast beast. Merry Christmas, everyone.